me to call it peace in war times. This is called the God Afro-Ra explained in Noone Science, Part 1. NEY 60, NoopooH Mental Year 96, 9/4/22. Satuna Saturn 20 degrees Aquarius. The intestines 23 minutes and 6 minutes. The third deacon. 2 years, 5 months, and 1 day until February 5th, 2025. Alright, by the same author uniform with this work, Osiris and the Egyptian Resurrection, 2 volumes. Alright. The universal title of the Bible is Book of the Dead because it is from the dead and it's for the deaf, the physical and mental dead. And this is why we see the same symbol on the church house of the mental dead that we see in the cemetery place of the physical dead. The symbol to which we refer is the cross, the sign of the dead, physical and mental. Cross is a word that refers to crescent, and crescent refers to the moon, a dead universal body which supports and multiplies the physical and mental dead and their forces on planet Earth. The Egyptian Book of the Pyramid, the cemetery, and Book of the Dead, the Bible, were magnified by Tahuti, sometimes called Thoth or Hermes Trismegistus, the moon god, also known as Anubis. Bible Interpretation Explanation Book 2, number 22 in part. Listen to Jutah, Kendall NoopooH, First Black Judgment Power. It's showing the reading and listening audience that the Egyptian coming forth by day, Book of the Dead, and the pyramid texts are documents of spells and curses that all of your 3 major religions in America are based on: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, but not limited to just those 3. It is why we, the Pesejet, Ennead, 9 Orbs, are taking our nephew Jutah, Kendall NoopooH through these texts and lining them up with the writings of our great nephew Afro-Unu, Africa First, who is alive and well in Africa at 11 years old at the time of these writings, to help you break the spells casted every moment on you all. It is why many of you are still directly and indirectly affected and continue to make mentally dead choices that help out the spirit dead and their physical helpers by way of Leviathan. The NoopooH, second reason I, Jutah Jupiter, am taking Jutah Kendall NoopooH through these pages of translations to show you all that what seems to be stories about the past is actually about what has happened and will repeat themselves again with NoopooH's influence. Remember this well. In addition to the chapters already mentioned, there are other sources of information about the Tuat or other world of the Egyptians, and these, the principal works, are the Book of Him that is in the Tuat and the Book of Gates. The book Am Tuat or Ami Tuat describe the journey which the sun god makes through the Tuat after he has set upon this world, as the sun god approaches the antechamber or vestibule of the, end quote. Listen to Jutah Jupiter soundright reasoning. The Book of Him is in the Tuat, Duat underworld, refers to myself, Jutah Jupiter Ma'at, the judge of all on earth, and whom I have chosen. This is why I, Jupiter Ma'at, the judge of all on earth, caused my Jutah Jupiter's nephew to name certain videos the books of Jutah just for this time of sentencing the guilty. It's the first one I did, the books of Jupiter, part 1, and it's 8 videos of these. Alright, I did this first one June 2nd, 2022. And this is the 8th one. I also did the status of Satuna, which is just another way of saying the books of Satuna or Saturn. I just wanted to change it up a little bit. But it's pretty much the same. They both go hand in hand. After the 6 years expired February 5th, 2022, by way of the god of karma and persecution, Satuna, Saturn, Chronos, only those whose reasonability and heart's intentions have been judged, weighed by the best standards according to their surroundings, religions, way of life, their spirit being, and bloodline will be eligible to survive Armageddon. Tuat in the west, the gods who are in charge of his boat. steer directly for the entrance to the Tuat. Remember, the Tuat or the Duat is another way to say the underworld. Alright? Side note, these are the gods spoken of in the West. Listen to reason. After the tip top of the order circle is reached at point 9 north, persons and things begin to decline in standards and qualities and values, and it is surely so that the form changing growth patterns, see page 661, start reversing. The round forms of persons and things gradually become more and more elliptical as time passes, and by time the point 6 west is reached, persons and things are as elliptical or oval as they were when at point 6 east, and also moving in a counterclockwise direction. The reason for the decline of the positives are that 6 ETH influences are mentally arrive and gradually and steadily increase, plus the fact that reasonability and knowledge necessary for higher standards were likewise slowly waning because of negative influence in the atmosphere everywhere. Let it be always, let it be remembered always well. Listen to reason. When the suns and nature in general die scientific death at point 6 west, spirit gods and goddesses become the spirit god Ta, invisible, and the flesh and blood gods and goddesses become the physical god Ta, whereas these beings were NoopooH before. Introduction to the Nature Book 2, page 102 in part. And NoopooH is the negative powers of nature that reveal the facts of negative nature to the writer of this book. Secondary reason, the creative energy that produce evolution and the secondary person and things thereof into form and life is called Zeus, pronounced Zeus in the American English Dictionary of the United States. The sun god Ra of Egypt and Africa was adopted in Greece as Zeus, in Italy as Jupiter, and called Logos in philosophy. The proper science name of Zeus is Zupa, pronounced NoopooH, and NoopooH, the secondary created evolutionary process of Zeus. NoopooH is 6 reason and 6 ether in general. Zeus, descendants of Ta, who is Uranus, is the gods and goddesses, spirit beings of nature that rule and control in the bottom half of the smack circle of order. We all exist right now in the bottom half of the order circle at point 3 south. Let it be remembered always, let it be known. Introduction to the Nature Book 2, pages 69 through 70. Listen to Jupiter sound right reasoning. I, Jupiter, am Zeus. NoopooH in the physical form is a sun called a planet today. I, Jupiter, represents NoopooH inside my Jupiter's body during the time that the bottom half of existence called Tuat in ancient Kemet. Here's the gematria. The Tuat comes out to 4 to 40. Bottom half comes out to 40. Tuat in the west, the gods who are in charge of his boat. Alright, this is the west on the smash circle. This is coming out of book 3. So we see that 6 west, which happened 18 million years ago, actually has a place in the direction that our ancestors knew that. Alright, special praise and shout out and honor go out to our ancient ancestors who put together the Seshmeter Netta and kept it going through papyruses until it was able to reach this day and time, and completed and made sense by Afro-Unu by way of NoopooH in the minds of the planets, especially his guardian planet, which is Jupiter, because he was a Sagittarius. Alright? Side note, us orbs, planets can be seen as boats because we float in space at all times. This is why we, the Pasejet 9 orbs, were drawn as 9 gods on a boat held up by the god Noone in ancient times. Alright, so we have Noone at the bottom. This is the boat. They got the scarab beetle, which we told you in the scarab god explained part 1 and 2. This is matter being formed. This is the alpha star of each universe, and these are the 9 gods as they have it put it. This is the myth version and the actual reality. Alright, these are the 9 orbs here. These are the 9 gods, because the scarab god Kepra was space and matter. and sometimes the sun was called Kepler as well. So this would be the sun, and this would be on a smaller note, the sun rolling all of the planets when they started being made from the chaotic matter. Our sun NoopooH rolled each planet up from the chaotic matter and gave them their form and pushed them into the position they are today. Our introduction to the nature, book 3, page 4 of the PDF. The sun god takes the form of a man-headed ram. Listen to Utah Jupiter sound right reasoning. This means Utah mentally incarnated into Africa in pre-dynastic times as Amun-Ra and human beings up until this very time, 9/5/22. Alright, here's a picture of animal picture of Amun, right? Or the ram of Amun. And then you have Amun on the side, which is January 8th through 21, and February 1st to 11. And my birthday is on the 9th of January. Alright. It says beneficial color orange for women, yellow for men. You strive to be the best at what you do and are motivational and encouraging to others. You are destined for the big successful things in the future. Alright. The sun god on planet Earth is called by various names by various peoples in different ethnic races by the names Ra, Re, Amun-Ra, Re-Harakti, Uranus, Tar, Jupiter, Helios, Horus, Elyon, Brahma, Phobos, Dambala, Eli, as in the Caucasian Bible. Eli is short for Helios, and Elyon, Marduk, Allah, Zeus, etc. Introduction to the Nature, book 2, page 146 in part. The sun god takes the form of a man-headed ram and stands with a shrine. In other words, he takes the form of Osiris so that he may pass safely through the kingdom of the dead, which is ruled by Osiris. Listen to Utah Jupiter Ma'at, the judge of all sound right reasoning. The kingdom of Osiris began 6,000 years ago from February 5th, 1962 AD to 4038 BCE, which was the beginning of the moon cycle. At that point, Utah Jupiter Ma'at Amun-Ra had to step back because the 6,000 years of the sun cycle had elapsed. Alright, here's a smart circle here that I made. So here, we're in the bottom half right here on this side, at 3 south. And as you can see in this portion right here, is the 6,000 years that I was talking about. Or what Utah was talking about. See, the last 6,000 years of evolution, moon cycles, the kingdom of Tahuti and Osiris. Because Tahuti was ruling like the first 4,000 years. Osiris was with him on it, but then he took over the last 2,000 years around the time that they set up the Roman Empire. And from that point is how long Osiris was ruling, roughly since the establishment of the Roman Empire, and that his rulership or authority has basically been dwindling since February 5th, 1962, given a 60-year or 63-year time window. 60-year time window for everything need to be weakened, and then it's a 3-year window thrown in there for the cataclysm and the closing of evolution. Alright. The sun god Horus is the etymological son of Osiris, Pluto according to legend. Therefore the sun god Re-Harakti, which is Utah, of the Ethiopian race had to fade into the background and become known as Horus, the son of Osiris, because the moon god Sin Mercury, the traditional messenger of the gods, had taken over spiritual leadership for the first 4,000 years of the moon cycle, and Osiris, who was active alongside the moon god, took over spirit leadership for the last 2,000 years of the moon cycle. Spirit beings can be tricky and elusive. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. Introduction to the Nature, book 2, page 131 in part. In this form, the sun god is called Afra, flesh of Ra, the dead body of Osiris. Explanation. Listen to reason. The Eastern and scientific name of the writer of this book is Afro-Unu, pronounced Afro-Unu. Of course, Afro means pertaining to Africa, African or African descent, and the word and name Unu means number one or first. To be resurrected again, this happens every 72 million years from the death called ignorance and deception about absolute nature and its laws and cycles. And the first to be resurrected from the deep grave of death, cultures that do not recognize eternal nature and its laws, cycles, and reasons as the one supreme being, ultimate power and authority for distinguishing rightness from wrongness, knowledge from ignorance, truth from falsehood, and justice from iniquity, as well as honesty from big deception, plus accentuating the positive by liberating people from the negative in the practical sense and manner. Introduction to the Nature of Nature, Book 1, pages 18 through 19. Here is the gematria. Afra is 26. Afro is 26. Read them and weep. Side note, Afro Una was born November 23rd, 1926. So we got the 26 right there too. Listen to Utah's Jupiter, Ma'at, judge of all. Afro Una was called the dead body of Cyrus, just meant he, Afro Una, was born from the mentally dead Ethiopian race who had been made mentally dead by the 6,000 year moon cycle that ended February 5th, 1962 AD. What is death and the resurrection? Of course, death is the reverse or opposite of life, since life is burning, then physical death is the permanent stoppage of that burning. There are various kinds of death: economic death, linguistic death, nominal death, historic death, unity death, spiritual death, citizen death, cultural death, mental death, and physical death. All deaths except physical death are parts or phases of mental death. And that means you have to be losing your reasonability in order to suffer from economic death, because if you don't have good sense, they say you hit the lotto and you don't have high reasonability of what to do with your money, you'll lose your money, which means what? You become broke. That's a form of economic death. Linguistic death, we used to know our languages and tongue and where we came from in the history, but once we got removed from certain parts of the planet and they cut that from us, we lost our knowledge of our old way of speaking. That's the linguistic death. And historic death, the same thing, teaching us information that's not helpful, has nothing to do with us back in the day or even up to date. That's a form of historical death. Unity, we don't know how to come together. That's a form of unity death. Spiritual death, meaning we don't know that these religions are actually lesser forms of science, and they all about the spirit dead and dead people written in those books. Those people are not here any longer, etc., etc. All these are forms of death. Citizen death, not knowing that you're a nature citizen, meaning a citizen of the planet. Most of these human beings got people fighting over pieces of land, or I'm from America, I'm from Africa, I'm from over here, I'm from over there, but all of that comes from the same, it's on the same orb. But that's another conversation. All right, culture death, not knowing your person, not knowing where you come from, not knowing what you stand for, not knowing the things we need to know to keep our people alive, our race alive, you know, our names, our culture, games, intelligence, history, what we contribute to the world, all that's part of culture death. All right. We can see from what has been stated in the foregoing paragraphs, there's no such thing as physical resurrection for the physically dead people, neither individuals nor collectively, because the body and the mind are the soul, and they cannot be restored to usefulness after physical death. The resurrection mentioned in the Bible, though false, can be applied to the resurrection of the mentally dead people who at the end of the moon cycle, the cycle of ignorance, are being resurrected by right knowledge from the grave of spiritual and cultural ignorance, gullibility, and injustice, that they might take their proper place and position in the life for liberty, unity, justice, equality, and rightness. Bible Interpretation Explanation, Book 2, number 78. Listen to Utah Jupiter's Ma'at, the judge of all sound right reasoning. The mental resurrection began with Afro Unu 1, NoopooH 2, and NoopooH 3, and we the 9 orbs, Paseja Eniad, have been keeping count since then, so I, Utah Jupiter, would know who have earned the right to be number named by us, the 9 orbs. Listen to reason. While on the origin of the kinky hair belonging to the Ethiopian race, let this scribe of 9 writing writings known as Noone disclose a few more facts about kinky, kingly hair. That word number is a variant of the word Nubian or Nuba, and of course the word number refers to one or more of the numerical cipher in digits 0 through 9 used in the English language. This means that the cipher 0 and the 9 digits were created by our Ethiopian race ancestors on the Nile River in Africa, who called themselves by number names in sequence for the first of given names, and the last of surnames being the same for all members. The main point here is this: not only did our ancestors of the African race create the cipher and numerals 0 through 9 linguistically, but all members of the Ethiopian race actually grow these digits in cipher on our heads by nature. Members of the kinky hair race, as proof of this claim, do this investigation. Comb your hair while leaning over a hand bowl or bathtub. You're not likely to see the cipher and all the 9 digits at one combing, but you will most likely see one or more of them at each of your combings until you eventually see all of them, one or more at a time. Of course, this examination depends on whether any of your hair falls to the bowl or tub as you do comb it. Naturally, going the numbers 0 through 9 makes us the Ethiopian race, the numbers people of culture and planet Earth, and by extension the universe. And this is why our proper first names are numbers as individuals, and we can answer questions correctly by numbers as well as solve problems by numbers appropriately. The number naming is in future writings. Here the writing future activities. Here the writer only mentions the fact that needs to be known nation by nation for members of the Ethiopian races. We are resurrected from the mental dead. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. Introduction to the Nature Book 1, page 155 to 156. As he approaches the ape gods and the other gods and goddesses sing praise to him, and serpents belch forth fire which provides the light that enables his pilot gods to steer his boat. The doors which bar the way are thrown open by the gods, and Aphra proceeds on his way. Right waters of the river of Net Asar by a number of boats which are specifically created by Osiris, and arrives at the head of the stream of which the throne of Osiris is placed. Here the god sits surrounded by his followers, who are described as Bane Shitau, or hidden souls. The banks of the streams are lined with gods who have been told off by Osiris to minister to the wants of Aphra and to make his boat to travel in safely through the region. In other words, Osiris Asar was not allowed to kill Aphra or Afro-Unu as he made his way through Osiris' kingdom called America from November 23rd, 1926 to May 3rd, 2011. As a matter of fact, Afro-Unu made it known. Listen to reason. As this scribe stated previously, religion has served its purpose and thereby has been fulfilled, except for the ending called judgment and balancing time by the positive powers and negative force of almighty nature. So it is true and binding if this writer Afro-Unu is murdered by anyone, whosoever, or anything for any reason, by any means, he has requested and predicts that all enemies of the Ethiopian race be destroyed and their roots completely eliminated. All enemies of justice and equality be terminated once and for all, leaving alive only the elite and elect. Those innocent people definitely chosen to survive Armageddon by way of Noone and NoopooH. So leaders and rulers of planet Earth, it is most wise and in the best interest of all concerned not only to allow the messenger of NoopooH nature to accomplish his mission and assignment by almighty nature in the name NoopooH, but likewise help him become a part of the process of surviving Armageddon, the war of ending the old and beginning the new. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. So here you can see Afro-Unu has asked that they help him complete his mission. That's why when you go up here, it says what? The banks of streams are lined up with the gods who have been told off by Osiris to minister to the wants of Aphra, which is Afro-Unu as he traveled. He's saying whatever he want, whatever you want, whatever you like. That's what they told them to make sure Afro-Unu get his job done, whatever he want. And he put it right here. You gotta remember, this is thousands of years ago, but this is talking about now. And see, Afro-Unu said it's in everybody's best interest to let this messenger to allow this messenger of NoopooH nature to accomplish his mission and assignment by Almighty Nature. All right, Introduction to the Nature and Nature, Book 2, pages 268, 269. Listen to Jutah's Jupiter Ra Ray Ma'at, Sound Right Reason. Notice, Afro-Unu Afra said, if he is murdered by anyone whosoever, this included humans and spirits. So Osiris, Isis, Aset, and their spiritual followers will be dealt with in a different manner that they would not like. Read the promise made to those who broke Afro-Unu's request to me, Jutah Jupiter, in NoopooH's name below. Listen to reason. Yet, of course, spirit beings will continue their quest for survival, pleasure, and honor as the non-ether mentality increases in the atmosphere and minds of persons and things due to the powers of the cycle in season and the laws of Almighty Nature. Spirit beings will follow increasingly the upward trend of the smart circular order, particularly after the point 3 South catastrophe of Armageddon. In the meantime, before then, they will be the justice forces for the positive force of absolute nature. After Armageddon, spirit beings will not need the high quantity of sacrifices that they need now, because most of their needs can be satisfied by possessing and uniting with physically living beings, and the sadistic ones will be sealed in the earth and will be sealed in the earth and eventually dissipate. That means disappear. Vamoose. Listen to Jutah Jupiter Ray Rock Ma'at, the judge of all. Sound right reasoning. If Osiris wants to live out his last remaining 6,000 years, he will stop attacking the innocent over the guilty. Let this be remembered always, and let this be known. This concludes part 1 of the God Afro-Ra explained in Noone. Tremendous cosmic peace in martial wartime.